Absolutely.
So let's come down here to the card.
Oh, it appears by magic.
Yes,
This is great. Oh, look at all these plants. I love plants.
Now, this is my favorite, right? The mistletoe, right? The mistletoe. But with this, it could actually be a mace, right? But with the mistletoe, I always wanted to see, when I was a kid growing up, I would think that the mistletoe, I always had mistletoe on hand because I would follow the girls and I would be looking for a kiss, right? But the girls, they're very quick, they're very fast, and they would always see me coming a mile away and they would run away.
Yeah.
So I would think that I could take them and I could trip them and I could hold it down over them, and then as I held them up, I could kiss them, right? So tell me about the mistletoe.
Viridianum serotonum. I tell you what, isn't this a fun little plant? Well, I mean, fun for most people. It doesn't sound like it was very fun for you.
It wasn't.
But anyway, the mistletoe actually comes from two words in the Celtic language. It comes from mistle, which means dung, and ton, which means twig. And literally, it means dung twig because, you know, they grow in trees, the birds come by and eat the berries, and then the droppings spread the seeds around.
How romantic.
Isn't it?
Dung twig. So they weren't running from me because I was ugly. They were running from me because they were educated, right?
That's right.
They knew that I was holding a dung twig over their head. How by chance did it get to be a kissing thing?
Well, you know, it's interesting. One thing, I've got to give you a word of warning on this. Even though the birds love the berries, whatever you do, don't eat the berries. They're toxic. I've tried it. You do not want to go there, okay?
So it
anyway,
won't
just
kill
a
you.
disclaimer.
It won't kill you.
Well, it didn't me.
Well, I would hope not.
But anyway, no, as far as how we came to the representation at Christmas, it started again with those Romans. The Romans would use this when they were trying to make a peace pact with an enemy that they had been at war with. They would bring in the mistletoe as a representation of peace. Now, along the way, it kind of got contorted a little bit, and they began to use, it went from peace to love and then to romantic love. And so now we have the legend, as you know, and I'm sorry, in your case, it is a legend, but when you hold, if you kiss somebody under the mistletoe, then your chances of getting married within the next year are greatly increased.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one here, I believe holly.
The Holly,
Of course.
Elix opaca, that's me. Well, I mean, my name's Holly, it's not Elix opaca. I mean, that would be a weird name, don't you think? You know, did you know that people who have strange names are 3 times more likely to end up in prison? But isn't she beautiful?
She is beautiful, but your mom
then
was.
again, aren't most Hollies?
Most hollies are.
Yes.
I bet
yes.
your mom was on the fence though, really. When you were born, she was probably Elixopaca, Holly. Elixopaca, Holly. Just,
Yeah.
roll of the dice.
I'll take either one. I just love this plant. Yeah, this started out with the ancient Druids used to think that they had some strange beliefs, but they used to think that there was a war between holly trees and oak trees. And the oak trees represented summer, the hollies represented wintertime or cooler months, and there would be a war. So whichever one won, it would go back and forth between those seasons. So it was a seasonal kind of thing. However, when the Christians started using hollies in their celebrations, you can see easily that you have thorny leaves. This reminds us of the thorn of crowns that Christ wore on the cross. The red berries represent the blood that he shed for us. And in fact, if you go to Scandinavia, the Scandinavian word for holly means Christ thorn.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So last but not least, what is this one? I see
Yes.
this rhetoric all the time.
Isn't this gorgeous? Euphorbia pulchimera. You know, I've got a friend named Euphorbia. She really is weird. I mean, she is strange. But anyway,
Is she in
this
jail?
is... What?
Is she in jail?
No, thankfully not yet, but I'm going to keep an eye on her. you know?
Sure.
Anyway, the poinsettia came about, we usually associate that with a cold weather plant because it shows up around at Christmas. But it actually originates in Mexico. And the ancient Aztecs would use this. The red leaves would be used for dye for fabrics. And then if you break open the stems, it has a milky sap that they would use for fevers. However, the conquistadors came over from Spain, so sorry for the Aztecs, but anyway, they came over from Spain, and when they conquered them, that's when this beautiful plant began to be used in nativity scenes. In fact, there was a legend that there was a poor young Mexican girl that wanted to bring the Christ child a gift the next morning before she went to see him. However, unfortunately, she was so poor that she didn't have any money to buy any precious things. All she could do was to gather up weeds, and hopefully that would be an acceptable gift. Well, she went to bed the next morning, she woke up, and miraculously, this beautiful plant appeared. Now, I bet you're wondering how it got to the United States.
I was about to ask.
Yes, I thought you were. Well, we had a diplomat that went down to Mexico. His name, interestingly enough, is Joel Poinsett. Poinsett. You get it? Anyway, he's from Greenville, South Carolina, and he just thought that this was a beautiful plant, so he introduced it to the United States, and it has now become the most popular plant in the United States. Now, if you look at each of them, these are leaves, these are not flowers. The flowers are really the little yellow parts in the middle. These are called bracts. But if you look at the bracts, if you look at the leaves, you can see how it resembles the Star of Bethlehem. So,
beautiful.
that's how that went.
Yes.
Now, I see that you've got
Holly, I just got a message in my ear from my producer. He says that there is pizza that has just been delivered to the green room.
I was sending out Morse code with my blinkers.
For the pizza?
Yes.
I think it's here.
Oh, right.
If you hurry, you can beat Ray Raymond.
Merry Christmas. Oh, yes.
Go.
Okay. Bye. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Dr. Holly Fur, everyone.
Come and see the inconceivable and believe the unbelievable. God has come to dwell with us. Begotten Son, born into Adam's earth, promised one, fulfilling ancient words. God has come to dwell with us. Who could ever know the depths of the mystery of your grace? Though our minds can't take it in, Lord, our hearts are filled with praise. He will heal the unhealable. He will save the unsavable. God has come to dwell with us. Heaven's joy will drink our bitter cup, emptied out as He is lifted up. God has come to dwell with us. Know the depths of the mystery of your grace. Though our minds can't take it in, Lord, our hearts are filled with praise. Lord, we're lost in overwhelming awe at the cost of your amazing love. God has come. God has come. God has come to dwell with us.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's such a beautiful voice that Gary has. Whenever I'm tempted to sing in the shower, I just call Gary and have him sing for me. So our next guest for our scientific questions, he comes all the way from the Earth and planetary place of USSC. Please put your hands together for Dr. Terence Major. That was loud, yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for.
There's no pizza back there. Did Ray get that too?
Oh my goodness.
Holly, I'm here. Please, take those M&Ms.
Who is the Christmas tree?
That's Dr. Holly McFerrin.
Oh, I've heard of her.
Yes, she's very hungry.
Oh.
M&M,
How many of those do you have in there?
we have enough.
Okay. Maybe later.
Okay. So, you look absolutely, you look wonderful.
Thank you. Your producer said so as well.
He's a kind man. So, Dr. Terence Major, can I call you Terry?
No.
Okay. I heard backstage before you came on that you actually have 6 degrees.
6th degree, that is correct. Of course, I have a doctorate in astronomy, but I've also got mathematics, physics, computer science, animal husbandry.
Of course. Why so many degrees?
Well, with animal husbandry, like so many young men, I started college with dreams of owning a poultry farm.
I'm not going to go there. So, Dr. Major,
Yes.
tell us what it is you do.
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. I like to consider myself a professional second opinion. Well, what I do is, when somebody makes a scientific claim, well, I go out and validate it. I make sure that the data they use, the procedures that they use follow proper scientific protocol, and that the results were not tainted by things like biases and hopes or expectations of the results.
I guess that's good, depending on who's wanting the opinion.
Well, I suppose I'm not often the most popular man in the room, but facts are not always convenient, but they are important.
Yes. So, a fact. A question for a fact. So, what about the fact that Christmas isn't always on Christmas, December 25th?
Oh, well, that's a prime example of what I'm talking about. You see, there's been a lot of research on this topic, but the research is always focused on when Christmas wasn't, which is kind of unfair, because if you say, well, I'm going to prove when Christmas wasn't, you have a 364 out of 365.25 chance of getting it right.
That makes sense.
Yes, it's one of those examples where people go in and they're trying to prove, they go in and find these scientific facts, and as soon as they find one that fits what they're trying to prove, they stop researching, and that's why I have a job.
I'm glad you're gainfully employed, sir.
Me too.
So there were shepherds in Bethlehem at that time, at the time of Christ, right? At the time of Jesus, there were shepherds in Bethlehem. Now that was December, right? So I'm always wondering, would there be shepherds out there in the fields in December? Because I would think it would be frightfully cold, but they would be surrounded by the sheep, and I would be like, sheep, come to me! They're full of wool. I would have a sheep on my head, and when I reach home, I would be fine, right? Was it cold in Bethlehem in December?
Well, first of all, I'd say you have a very strange idea of how to take care of sheep.
I'm not a good shepherd.
But let's answer this question. First of all, as I've stated previously, there's been a lot of research on when Christmas was, or wasn't. But nobody has definitively proven when Christmas was. But I can still answer your shepherd question. What's really interesting about this is that Bethlehem, which is near Jerusalem and is about the same elevation, and we have many records from Jerusalem at the time regarding temperatures. And I can tell you right now, the temperatures in that area would have been a very, very comfortable 5 or 6 degrees.
5 or 6 degrees.
Yeah.
5 or 6 degrees, I have all the clothes in the world on my body.
No, Celsius, 5 or 6 degrees Celsius. That's like 42 degrees Fahrenheit. It's like South Florida. And come to think of it, Jerusalem was kind of like Rome's South Florida. I wonder if Romans went there to retire.
Probably not.
Ah, well, nobody's done any research on that.
So, something is on my mind, it's just hitting me like this. The comet, the star, what brought them? Was there a star that was shining bright like that one right there?
Oh, that is-
Was it like a bat signal that drew everyone to them?
Oh, the bat signal. I love Batman. That is very bright, isn't
It is.
It's definitely more than 5 or 6 degrees Celsius right here. So it's interesting you mentioned the star. That's another great topic to talk about. There's several theories as to what the star could have been. Supernova is a top theory. A supernova would have burned very brightly for a brief amount of time and would have been very unusual in the night sky. There's also, as you mentioned, comets. Now, Halley's Comet came by at around 12 BC, which is a little bit too early, but who knows? Maybe there were other comets that are less documented, they have a longer cycle.
So back up a second. The supernova. Supernova is more than just a nova, it's a supernova. So it's kind of like a cheeseburger, then a triple cheeseburger. Is that a fair assessment?
Oh, now you're just being ridiculous.
Okay, that's... sorry to interrupt your thoughts.
Well, that's okay. Well, the third option that many people talk about is planetary conjunctions. This is when two planets pass very close to each other from a certain perspective on the Earth. And it makes them very bright and stand out. There were a couple very interesting conjunctions around that time, including one with Jupiter and Venus coming very closely. And from the perspective in Jerusalem, it would have appeared that Jupiter would have come this way and then stopped and then gone back, and guess where it stopped? Directly over Bethlehem, which would have been very interesting, and guess what? They had stopped there.
December 25th.
December 25th? That's right. But it is important to remember that we cannot stop there. That is just one element, and that is a piece to the puzzle. But don't stop researching just because you found one clue that seems to match what you want to believe. That is, again, why I have a job. But there are also, it is important to remember that the scriptures say that the wise men were following his star. They said his star. And astronomers at that time, they knew the difference between a supernova and a planet and a comet. They didn't have explanations as to what those things were exactly.
So there were astronomers all the way back then studying these things, collecting that data.
Oh, certainly. Very intelligent and strong.
Hold that thought for just 1 second. We have to go to commercial break. We'll pick up right there when we come back. Thank you so much.
Prophets promised long ago a king would come to bring us hope. And now a virgin bears a son, the time to save the world.